How are you? Just waiting for a couple of people to join us. Hello Kai. Hello. I'm just getting all my bits up so we can interview the wonderful Fran Bushe. Super excited to speak to Fran. It's always amazing, always really fun when I do these interviews, and I've had the voice of the person in my. That's very sweet. Thank you. This is very, very quick. I've tried a new technique with my hair, which is just not brushing it at all. It's so much fun interviewing someone whose book you've just read because you've had their voice in your head all week, and now I get to hear what Fran actually sounds like. Hello, Fran. So I'm just going to invite you to join. We have Fran.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing the not brushed my hair look as well. I think it's the one.
I think it's the one. I think it's the way forward now. It's the post-pandemic chic, I think.
I think if I took my ponytail out, it would still stay in a ponytail shape.
Yeah, my hair does that a lot for sure. I just think it's easier at this point. I can't commit to own a hairbrush. We don't have that kind of stability in our lives at the moment.
No, that is the one thing I can trust is that there are knots in my hair. That's all I have.
Exactly. That is the kind of consistency I want from my hair.
Have you been to a hairdresser's?
I have actually. I've been to a hairdresser's since since the easing of this last lockdown, which was a very weird experience. But that was the first time in a year. How about you?
I haven't, because I'm so worried they're just gonna pick up bits of my hair and just, the disappointment of a hairdresser.
This time you have an excuse.
I'm so sorry. They'll say, "Who last cut your hair?" And I'll say, "Oh, well, me." And then my mum. The two of us, terrible haircutters.
Well, it's nice to know that you're definitely not alone this year, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
So enough about hair. We are not here to talk about hair, although we can talk about other kinds of hair for sure.
I'm sure it'll come up.
Can I just check from our wonderful viewers whether you can hear us and see us all right? Just double checking. Let us know if you can't, and we will sort that out. And whilst we're finding that out, I'm going to introduce. I'm so excited to chat to Fran Bushe today. I have been reading your book all week. I've absolutely loved it, and it's just so much fun to read a book and then get to meet the person who wrote it and get to ask you questions about it. It's always a reader's dream, I think. When you close a book, you're like, "Oh, I loved that. Now I want to hang out with the author." And here we are. So I'm super excited to chat to you about loads of things. And for anyone who doesn't know the wonderful Fran Bushe is an award-winning comedian, writer and performer. She has had sold-out runs at the Soho Theatre, the Roundhouse, and she has been resident artist at the Pleasance Theatre, Arts Depot and Theatre Delhi. She had The Diary of My Broken Vagina released on Channel 4 as a comedy blap, has written a multi-award-winning play, Ad Libido, and has released this incredible book, My Broken Vagina, which we are talking about today. Is there anything you'd like to add to that? Is there anything I missed out about your wonderful and completely multifaceted life?
No, that's very, very thorough. That's incredible. I've just started drinking decaf tea. That is the only part of my life that is not represented in that lovely bio.
But very important to know.
I miss caffeine. My brain is not. It feels very peaceful, but I don't know if you've ever given up caffeine. It's hard.
Never attempted it. Too addicted. I think I would be the shell of the human that I am. I'm very impressed.
It might make me a genius for this conversation. Who knows?
You know, wild card energy. I love it. I love it. We'll find out what happens. Um, so please, as we go on this live stream, please feel free to ask questions, add into the conversation. We'd love to hear your points of view. And if you're watching this again after the live stream, then please feel free to comment. We will show Fran, we'll get back to you in some sort of way. And we love hearing other people's experiences, and Fran's book is all about her experience, but other people's experiences if you haven't read it. So I think it'd be really interesting to add into the conversation. If you have any other thoughts or any other questions, please let us know. And yeah, please feel free to ask questions as we go as well. So are you ready to dive in?
I am, yes.
Fabulous. So I suppose for anyone who doesn't know, although the title of your wonderful book is quite explanatory as to what it's about, could you give us a little elevator pitch of what your wonderful book is about, and sort of clue anyone up who won't know and maybe hasn't read it yet?
Yeah, I have throughout my life experienced in different ways and different kinds pain during sex, or difficulties enjoying sex. So sometimes that has been not being able to have sex at all, so penetration feeling completely impossible, and actually when sex has been painful, it's been really hard for me to want to have sex, because my brain is already going, oh my goodness, it's gonna hurt, I don't want to have sex. And whilst I'm thinking about those things, pleasure is like a distant land away from my sexual experience, because I'm worrying about it hurting. I'm sort of hoping, when is it going to be over? Can this be over soon so we can get to the nice bit where we just get to cuddle each other? And I think for a really, really long time, I thought it was just me. I became sexually active with another person in sort of when I was around 16. At that point, the internet was not the wonderful place it is now, full of, well, like there's been a lot more lovely articles, information out there. Back then, it was just me in my school library trying to find information, books, anything about why sex might be painful, because I was told sex would probably be painful the first time. That's kind of the thing that I was told. And so I was like, oh well, I guess this is sort of normal. And then it didn't get better, it didn't improve, and I just thought it was me for so long. And so that's what the book is about. The book is about, I hit 30 and I was told, like, your 30s are meant to be your sexual prime, and you're meant to be having the best sex of your life. Like, oh, I've just made a cup of tea, oh, I've just come, oh my god, I'm putting on this blouse, oh, it's too sexy, I'm just too sexy. And that just hadn't been my experience in my late teens and my 20s. So I hit 30 and I was like, right, I don't know what I like, I don't know how to communicate about what I like, I don't really know how to say no. And I don't know if there is something wrong with my body, if there is something wrong with my brain, but it all wrapped up into just feeling very broken. And that is why the book is called My Broken Vagina.
That is I cannot recommend this book enough. I think if you are dealing with painful sex or have done in the past, or if you're just a person who wants to have sex or has had sex or doesn't want to have sex, it's also brilliant as well, because I think you capture expectation versus reality so beautifully in a way that I've never really seen in a sex book, and it's really beautiful because I think that is such a key to life, isn't it? Is just being able to let go and go with the flow, rather than holding all these expectations of this is going to be like this, or this is what I want to get out of this.
Yeah.
So I thought you captured that really beautifully, and
thank you.
I'm just sort of so interested in how I suppose let's go back slightly. if this is the conversation that we're having now, and this is the place where we are with your wonderful book at the forefront of it, and incredible organizations like the Vag Network, we are having these conversations now about painful sex and about sex in general in a way that I think has never been quite so open in the mainstream. Why do you think it's taken us so long to get here?
Oh, I mean,
Big question.
It's just, I mean, there's the huge answer that is just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of shame and oppression and repression and embarrassment and not being able to speak about these things. You know, there's huge structures like the patriarchy just really stopping these conversations happening. But like on a more like personal level, it's things like, you know, when you're a kid, not necessarily using the correct anatomical words for parts of your bodies, you know, calling your vagina a twinkle or a frou-frou or a foofaloo. And so from even when you're tiny, thinking that this place is a bad thing, or we shouldn't say it, and then thinking about things like, even I was calling my whole genital area my vagina. It took me until my 30s to realize that like the vulva and vagina were two different things.
Yeah.
And that's mad, you know, that and it means I'd been going into doctors when I'd been to see doctors about to speak about pain, speak about my experience. I was mislabeling everything in there, you know. I wasn't able to accurately say this is the bit that hurts, and it hurts in this kind of way. Even saying the word vagina, like I say it so much now, and I forget that it isn't necessarily normal to say the word this much. Every so often I'll get some funny looks in a cafe because I'll just be going vagina, vagina, vagina. And everyone in Cafe Nero is like, "What? Why won't you stop saying the word vagina?"
Near my flat white.
yeah, please, shush. And I just think, just at every stage of certainly my life, anything to do with like pleasure in sex has been like, we don't talk about that. We'll talk about sex potentially leading to a pregnancy, or we'll talk about the fact that sex can be a cause of STDs, but we won't talk about anything joyful around sex. We won't talk about any of the fun or messy bits of sex. So yeah, everything, it all throughout certainly my life, for a large part of it, has felt like it's been behind a closed door. I'm sure we don't speak about that. That's not what nice people talk about.
Yeah. Nice little girls closing their legs and not talking about sex. Yeah, that's the training. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep your hands where we can see them.
Yeah.
Why I've got to hold a mug.
Yeah. gotta have a hand prop.
just so everyone knows that my hands are all above board where you can see them.
It's all good here, Fran. So I think that's a really, really brilliant point about the language that we use around sex and around our anatomy is so important. And as someone who has gone from feeling like you can't acknowledge your genitals at all to someone who yells vagina in Cafe Nero, what would be your like first baby steps advice to someone who is really at the point where they aren't connecting with their genitals, they can't say those words, maybe they want to chat to friends about sex more openly, as you chat about in the book? What are the good steps towards doing that, do you think?
Yeah, It's really tough because you know, I've written a book about this, and I've been talking about my vagina on stage for the best part of 4 or 5 years now. But I still find it much easier to talk to a room full of strangers, to talk to the internet about these things than I do with a partner or with friends. Because I think there is this expectation that everyone else is having incredible sex. Everyone else is coming 300 times a night at exactly the same point as their partner. Penetration is easy. Everything just like clicks right into place like a lovely jigsaw puzzle, and that no one ever needs to use lubricant. And I think so. I guess my first bit of advice is just that it isn't easy. It isn't something that is you can just start doing necessarily to everyone. So I think it's, first of all, like just getting to know your own body on your own. And whatever that means for you, that might literally mean reading a book about your anatomy. It might mean researching websites and finding out about your body. It might mean trying to find some porn that you might enjoy. It might mean going and buying a sex toy or reading about different methods for self-touch. It might be something that is just for you, and that is absolutely fine. Not everyone has to go on stage and yell about their vagina, although we all should.
That would be a high bar, wouldn't it? The only way you can talk about sex is you have to go on stage, dress as a dolphin, yell about vagina.
But the other thing to remember is that like lots of people have excellent sex lives, but it is very unlikely that people have gone through their entire lives without having one moment of sexual challenge or difficulty or feeling lost with their body or their sexuality. And I found the more I've started to speak about it, the more other people have started to speak with me. And yeah, I think as I said before, like I thought it was just me. I thought it was just me in a world of vaginas that functioned as they should, whatever that means. And the more I have opened up and spoken about it, the more I've gone, oh, this person is having a problem with this, or this person feels like their sex drive doesn't match their partner's. And it's been such a huge shame and secret for so long that actually just opening up gently with people that you trust is really great. But also the internet is now brilliant. So mostly, not all of it, some of it is real bad.
Every corner of the internet is wholesome.
It's a wonderful place. We cherish it, and it does wonderful things for everyone's mental health. But if you can find communities, forums, places where people are going through the same thing as you, that is a lifeline. I think that really can save people's lives, just to know that it's not just them, that there are people out there who feel on their own with this too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think reading your book is, wink wink to audience, is a wonderful way to get that feeling as well, and get those thoughts of just hearing someone else's experience that mirrors yours in some way does feel really profound when it comes to sex. And it does feel like something taboo still that we don't talk about. And even like, as you say, like I've been working in sex education for years now, and also yelling about vaginas on stage, and yet still I sometimes get to the point where I'm like, I thought I'd crack this. And I think you encapsulate that so well in the book, that we're all on this journey and we're all struggling to talk about it, and then we'll think that we've cracked it and we'll come to something else and we're like, oh, I don't know how to do this. And yeah, I think that journey is ever evolving, and no one is alone in that. We're all there, whether we're going to admit it or not is the real question, I suppose. And there wasn't really a question in that. I'm sorry, I was just fangirling you, really.
It's all true. It's all true.
I'm really curious. So you started talking about this work with your show Ad Libido. And then it became this wonderful book. What was the sort of, why did you decide that the medium of the show should become a book? How did that journey happen? I'd love to know a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'd been doing the show on stage, a one-woman comedy theatre show. It's got songs in it. It's really silly. It's like quite a fun way of dealing with things that can sometimes be really difficult to speak about. And I just had this feel, like, obviously theatre is wonderful, but after a play has happened, it's gone. It's done for the night. And after the show each night, I would ask audience members to write down one thing that they wish they had known about sex when they were 16. And I started doing that because after my shows, the audience would all want to speak to me. They would all say, I've got this thing, or this really reminds me of this in my life. And I just went, oh my goodness, I thought I'd be doing this show for maybe a year, not for 4 years certainly, but it is because people just really want to speak about it. And so I did this Dear 16-Year-Old Me card scheme where people would write down something so that we were all sharing our experience. And then I was like, I want this to exist in a way that is more permanent. And we started writing it for TV, but then the old pandemic got a little bit in the way of that. So I was like, okay, a book. Let's put this into a book. And it didn't feel right that it was just my experience. The show is mainly just about me, but I can't talk for all vaginas. It's not possible.
Much as you try.
Or I can't talk for all people that have been with people with vaginas. So I started speaking to couples, single people. I wasn't very specific in my brief of what I wanted to talk to them about. I just said I wanted to talk to them about their sex life. And I think I was expecting to get a lot of people saying, oh, our sex life is brilliant. We have a lovely time. It's just so great. But it wasn't that. And I was really blown away with the honesty and the things that people shared with me. Often people who had never really spoken about it with anyone before. And it was something that they had carried as a couple or on their own. And it's such a big thing to carry. So I hope that anyone who reads the book will, even if they can't directly identify with the things in the book, that there is a sense of like community. And actually, if people feel less scared going to their doctors to ask for help, or feel more confident talking to their friends or their partner about it, then that's brilliant. Although I think I've had quite a few people say, oh, I went to Waterstones to buy your book and I'd ordered it in, and then I got too nervous to say the word vagina to the cashier. And you're like, oh no, this we need like some kind of secret symbol, like a handshake, like a handshake.
A vulva coming towards you.
You know, my broken. Let me just. That's my vulva mime.
Well, I hope they got it eventually.
I hope so too.
And you touch a little bit on in the book about what it was like to sort of be on stage talking about your vagina and the liberation of that, and also sort of navigating relationships around sort of talking about your vagina on stage. How has it been for you since the book has come out? Has it been a sort of similar reception? Has it felt sort of similarly kind of complicated and liberating in your personal life as well? That's maybe a little too personal. Feel free to answer or not answer.
No, I think it is interesting, because I think I always thought if you wrote a book, you had all the answers and you knew all the stuff. And I'm so much still on the journey of working out how my body works. And so like one week I'll feel like I've totally got this, I understand everything. And then the next week I'll be like, oh, I'm a complete fraud, because I've written this book that talks about sex and how potentially to have a slightly more open relationship with sex, but actually I've no idea. I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, it's sometimes I'll see my book in a bookshop and I'm like, oh no. Why did they let me write that?
They found out. That bookshop found out. Yes, I get that feeling.
Yeah. But I think that's probably the same with all sex educators. You know, we know the right things to say, and we know, like, but matching those with our own lives sometimes is hard. Then you're living up to the standard that you've set yourself in your work. So you're like, communicate all the time with your partner, and then you're like, oh, I have not communicated this properly with my partner. But it is a good reminder. It is a good reminder that aspirationally, that is what I should be doing. But also I think in the book, a very big advocate for just like, I mean, I wrote it during the last year when everything was mad in the world. And so I think the inner fabric of it is just give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. Because it was such an odd time to be making any kind of work. And we were all exhausted in so many different ways that, I think having the book out there in the world reminds me just to be kind to myself and be like, oh, nothing matters. It doesn't matter. Don't worry if you're not communicating properly today, you will tomorrow.
Yeah. Sometimes it will feel easy, sometimes it will feel hard, and that's okay. It's the same for everyone. Yeah, absolutely. It is an excellent reminder of that. I'm sort of wondering, so you give so much advice in your book to your younger self in this very beautiful section where you're talking very directly to your younger self, aren't you? There's a dialogue between you. And say there is someone on this call maybe who has very similar feelings to your younger self, or is feeling that the words that you bring up again and again and again, which we know is sort of not true, and it's completely normal, but these feelings of feeling wired badly or broken because sex doesn't feel easy. What advice would you give to someone who has those feelings at the moment and wants to explore their sex and explore their sexuality?
Yeah, I think first up, I would just, lube, just lube. And I cannot say it enough. When I was younger, I thought that lube was something that you used in very extreme circumstances. And I thought that like using it or asking to use it or bringing it with me on dates would be like an admission that I was this desert, that I had a cactus for a vagina, that I was completely like parched. And it helps on every single level, because like firstly, like it really does, it stops me worrying about pain. It's going to be so much easier using lubricant, but also lube is fun, and I didn't know that. I didn't know it was fun. I thought I really thought it was an embarrassment, something that people would judge me for using. And I can't imagine my life without it now. I couldn't go back. It would be awful, and I just wish I'd gotten over that sooner. And also maybe not tried so many of the tingly, burny, menthol flavor lubes. They don't agree with my vulva. I'm sure they do with some people's, but they do not agree with mine. So yeah, and we should feel okay to use lube from our very early sexual experiences. I think there's this idea that you're young and you should be very well lubricated instantly, naturally, at the drop of a hat. And it's not, that hasn't been my experience. So lube. I think I would really also, I didn't get a lot of consent education at school or beyond school, and I think I didn't know that it was okay to say no for a really long time. And I think that is in lots of parts of my life. I didn't know that I was allowed to have my own wants and needs and set my own boundaries, because I was always worrying about the other person. For ages, I thought that sex was for my partner. I thought I was just sort of there as a weird wank sock, you know, just like a passive person to facilitate them having a really, really great time. And I think over the years, like, I probably had a lot of sex that I didn't entirely want, and I was just not quite on board with, not present with the other person. And I wish I had known that it was okay to say, actually, no, this isn't working for me. No, I don't want to do this, without worrying how the other person would react. Because you, unfortunately, you can't control how the other person reacts. And I've definitely had times when people have reacted badly, when I've tried being assertive and said, actually, would you mind if we did this? Or like, how about we use this toy? Or and I think the worry of the rejection, like, and the worry of being shamed is really huge. And I think if I'd known, or if I'd had a more solid feeling that actually it's absolutely fine to say no, I think a lot of my experiences would be very different.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, again, something, you talk about this in your book, and talk about going to sex camp and going to consent workshops. And yeah, I think it's an incredibly powerful thing. And I think another thing you encapsulate really brilliantly in the book is how much we can, like, try and sort of contain ourselves and compromise ourselves because we're too scared to have those boundaries and have those limits, because we're scared of hurting the other person's feelings, or even just making ourselves smaller. And in the way you describe, sort of shrugging and slouching a bit so that you won't be as tall as your male partner. And I found that really hit me as like, wow, we do that either metaphorically or physically in so many ways in our life to try and sort of just help this other person that we're with. And although it's beautiful to help your partner and make them feel great, it's knowing where that line is, which is like a lifelong skill of knowing when you're coming up to your boundaries, or when you're just like helping someone feel good about themselves. I feel like so difficult to work out how to navigate that, I suppose.
Yeah, and worrying about being too big for the other person. And I totally had forgotten that I was in one relationship, and I literally used to make sure I was under, I kind of slotted underneath his armpit when we walked anywhere. But he was shorter than me, and it really, really upset him that I was taller. And yeah, so I mean, thank goodness it wasn't a long relationship. Otherwise, I would have real bad back problems. But I think we do. I think we all do that in different parts of our life, and I definitely do. There's been so many times when I have been too scared to say that actually I'm not into something, or I don't want to do something. There's been breakups that I've avoided for a very long time because I'm worrying about their feelings. And it's something I definitely still have to practice to be better at saying, actually, what do I want? Because I got so used to pleasing other people that sometimes it's quite hard then to key back into what you actually want, because your brain already is going, oh, what does this person need me to be?
Yeah. But being present in your own desires and your own wants, it's tricky. It's tricky. It takes a long time. And yeah, we are saying this both as people who have done a lot of homework, put it that way. Done a lot of homework. But it's still difficult to decipher. I don't want to keep you for much longer. Thank you so much for chatting away to us. It's been so lovely. I say us, there's no one else here. I mean, shush. But thank you for chatting to me. I would love to know, we touched on lube, and I spend most of my sex education career talking about the wonders of lube. I really think Sebastian from The Little Mermaid was talking about lube when he said, darling, it's better down where it's winter. Lube, definitely. Do you have any lube recommendations that you'd like to share with us? Do you have a lube, your go-to lube?
Yeah, so I use Yes Lube.
Love, yeah.
I think I am quite sensitive in my skin, and that I've never had any problems using that at all. Some lubes can be really sticky and get a bit claggy and gross, but no, Yes is great. I am a big fan, and actually they gave lots of samples for my show, so everyone that came to see the show got a sample of Yes Lube, and I've had so many emails from people who said, I came to see your show, thanks so much, love the show. Me and my partner now use only Yes Lube after having that sachet. So converting them, everyone.
Yeah, Yes Lube is wonderful, and just so everyone knows, it is available from shushwomenstore.com. And lastly, could I add, so you bring in loads of amazing research and resources, like your book is so well researched. We have mentioned the Vag Network, the incredible Vag Network that helps so many people with struggling with vaginismus. Are there any other networks or people that you'd like to shout out to that are good resources for people, and we can pop them in the comments afterwards as well?
Yeah, I mean, I read a lot of great books when I was researching my book. Mind the Gap by the Sex Doctor is great. Ruby Rare's book's really great as well. Don't Hold My Head Down is a really great book. So many. Hazel Mead's illustrations, gorgeous and warm and funny. I think there's so many people on social media, and I worry about social media and our mental health a lot. So I'm a very big advocate of just keeping your feed positive people who you find inspiring, and looking away limiting your scrolling because otherwise I'm there 4 hours later.
Yeah. My day is gone.
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
just finding those people. My disabled sex life's brilliant. Yeah, just wonderful people.
Amazing. And well, any other projects that you'd like to shout out to that are yours, and where can people buy your book?
Sure. So I'm bringing my show Ad Libido to Soho Theatre on the 31st of August and the 2nd of September. And I think that might be the last time I do the show. Unless the O2 are like, hey, Fran, do you want to come over? And my book is available wherever you buy your books. So Amazon, Waterstones, but obviously support your lovely local independent bookshops if and where you can. They're brilliant, and they'll get the book in if they haven't got it in stock. But wherever you get your books, or you can have an Audible experience, and I read the book to you.
Oh, oh, amazing, Fran. Thank you so much for coming to chat to me. It has been so lovely to hear your thoughts. I loved your book so much. I will be recommending it to everyone. Oh, and the book, Renee has just reminded me, we have the wonderful Renee in the comments. And she's just reminded me that the book is also coming to Shush very, very soon. So we will have it by them at your independent bookshop or your independent sex shop. Whichever you choose. So thank you so much for being here. If anyone has missed the beginning of the live, we will upload it to our live feed. It was so lovely to chat to you. I hope I get to meet you in person very soon.
Yeah.
Come to your show at the Soho, and take care, and see you very soon, I hope.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.